Christine Brennan of the USA Today had a question for Djonai Carrington after the incident in which Carrington poked Caitlin Clark in the eye with her acrylic fingernails. And we've talked about it on this program. We had a lot of people who jumped out and said, oh my God, she's trying to blind Caitlin Clark. What a horrible thing. She should be suspended from the league. Other people saying that she was a racist because of this, etc. And I came to Djonai Carrington's defense on this program and said, look, A, you don't know that she did it on purpose. I certainly don't see anything in that video that would lead me to believe that it's a certain thing that she did it on purpose. I don't think that it was on purpose. I think that it was inadvertent contact. And people attached the motive to it that they wanted to attach to it. And if she did do it on purpose, there's certainly nothing in the video, at least for me. Other people disagree, but the video that I saw, I'm not going to sit here and say with certainty that I can read a woman's mind and know that she was attempting to blind another person. We're not going to do that, at least not on this show. So I was with Djonai Carrington on that particular matter, but it certainly stirred the pot, as all Caitlin Clark controversies tend to do in 2024. So Christine Brennan, who has long been a champion of women's athletics, women's sports, you'd be hard-pressed to find a mainstream journalist who has been more friendly to women's sports and promoting the cause of women's athletics than Christine Brennan. But Christine Brennan asked Djonai Carrington about that play and if the contact was on purpose. Let's go back, take a look at the question, and take a look at Carrington's response.
Djonai, did you, when you went and kind of swatted at Caitlin, did you intend to hit her in the eye? And if so, could you just, or if not, either way, could you talk about what happened on that play?
I don't even know why I would intend to hit anybody in the eye. That doesn't even make sense to me. But no, I didn't. I didn't know I hit her, actually. I was trying to make a play on the ball, and I guess I followed through and I hit her. So obviously it's never intentional. That's not even like the type of player that I am. So yeah.
Did you and Marina kind of laugh about it afterwards? It looked like there was later on in the game they caught you guys laughing about it.
No, I just told you I didn't even know I hit her. So I can't laugh about something I didn't know happened. With the increase.
All right, so there you have it. The question asked, did you do this on purpose? Carrington says, no, I didn't. And then she follows up by asking her if she was laughing about it with a teammate later. Now, is the question insulting? If you're Djonai Carrington, perhaps yes, it is. Was the question appropriate? We could debate that. But she certainly has a right to ask the question. Let's take a look, though, because nothing can ever be that simple. Not in the WNBA landscape of this year, at least. Let's go take a look at what the WNBA Players Association had to officially say about this. Take a look at this. A message on behalf of the 144, which refers to the 144 players in the WNBA. To unprofessional members of the media like Christine Brennan, you're not fooling anyone. That so-called interview in the name of journalism was a blatant attempt to bait a professional athlete into participating in a narrative that is false and designed to fuel racist, homophobic, and misogynistic vitriol on social media. You cannot hide behind your tenure. Well then, that's an interesting take, and let's take a look at this. We call on the USA Today network to review its principles of ethical conduct for newsrooms and address what we believe is a violation of several core principles, including seeking and reporting the truth. Look at this. Absolutely. Apparently the WNBA, they're teaching fucking journalism now, these players. It's remarkable. When the season's not going on, they're all just taking a deep dive into studying journalistic principles so that they're ready to correct any journalistic malfeasance that they might witness during the course of their season. It's quite a service that is being performed here by the WNBA Players Association. The USA Today took their advice under consideration and responded as such. If we have the statement here issued by USA Today's sports executive editor, Roxana Scott, she says, journalists ask questions and seek truth. At USA Today, our mission is to report in an unbiased manner. We reject the notion that the interview perpetuated any narrative other than to get the player's perspective directly. Christine Brennan is well regarded as an advocate for women and athletes, but first and foremost, she's a journalist. Look, athletes and other public figures have not liked journalist questions since the beginning of journalism. And not every question asked by a journalist is a great question. Not every question asked by a journalist is a fair question. But the media is there. They have a job to do, and they can ask the question. Remember years ago when Bryce Harper was up? I think he was still a teenager at the time, and he was in Canada where I guess the drinking age was 19, and some media guy was like, hey, a game like this calls for a celebration. What would you have to drink? And Harper looks at the guy and says, that's a clown question, bro. You're free to do that. You're free to do that. Djonai Carrington answered the question as she saw fit. She answered the follow-up question as she saw fit. She said her truth. That should be good enough. I don't know why we're going after the journalists now. The idea that Christine Brennan should be sanctioned for doing her job, was the question a little assholish? Perhaps it was, particularly the follow-up question of were you laughing about it when Carrington had just told her that she didn't do it on purpose. Why would she be laughing about it afterwards? I can see where she was a little insulted by it. I really can. But to say that, well, now we're going to call your entire profession out and we expect the USA Today to take some type of action against this employee because we don't like the question she asked. Wow, we really are. This is the whiniest group of people that I believe that I may have ever seen. Just when I want to be on their side, even when I'm sympathetic to the WNBA players, they end up going and doing something like this that just makes you think, gee whiz, come on. What are we doing here? Really? Really? You can't just answer the question and move on? I don't think there was anything that Christine Brennan said that was beyond the pale or that should necessitate some remedy for the WNBA. You're going to have a little bit of a tougher skin here. You guys have been toiling in anonymity for 30 years. Finally, somebody notices you and nobody can do anything right to please this league. It's a bit ridiculous. And speaking of a bit ridiculous, it's a bit ridiculous that I must bring in the international streaming star to talk about women's basketball once again, even though he keeps thinking that he's not going to have to do this anymore. I'm speaking of Ronnie T-shirts, and Ronnie, we're just going to keep bringing women's basketball questions to you, apparently indefinitely. What do you make of this? Christine Brennan now, who is, as I've said, one of the biggest advocates for women's sports anywhere in journalism in this country, And now she's getting the collective stink face from the WNBA Players Association.
You know how I keep repeating the old adage that no publicity is bad publicity? I'm starting to rethink that, because I truly believe there's a PR team working with the WNBA and the WNBA Players Association, and they think this is just a great way to keep themselves in the news. And it is, because here we are after a massive college football and NFL weekend, and we're talking about this. But I just think that it's kind of like Deion Sanders. Like I'm getting Deion Sanders fatigue, and I'm absolutely have WNBA fatigue. And I guess what I find to be ironic is the USA Today is a pretty damn woke publication. Like very, very much so. I mean, just in the past 4 years, if you see what's been going on with during COVID, obviously with the elections, I mean, they're definitely a woke publication, and so is Christine Brennan. And so to think that Christine Brennan has this vendetta or this thing where she's trying to I don't know, make the WNBA look silly and racist and all these things is it makes absolutely no sense to me, Ricky. I think they're pushing this too far, and we're going to get I've had WNBA fatigue since its inception, but I think everybody else is going to also.
Well, Ron, look, the thing that gets me here is, as you said, Christine Brennan has been a friend of the WNBA, probably one of the best friends that the WNBA has had in mainstream media over the course of her career. She asks one question that they don't like, and suddenly she's public enemy number one, I guess. And it just baffles me. Do they expect to have no criticism? Do they expect to be treated with such kid gloves that they get to control the entire narrative about everything that happens in this league? What is unprofessional about asking the question? Look, as I said, the question, a little asshole-ish maybe, to go up to somebody and say, hey, did you stick your finger in another person's eye on purpose? I can see where Carrington could be insulted by that, but a lot of people believe that that's what happened. So it seems to me, with that question being on the minds of so many fans, it's certainly not an unreasonable question for Christine Brennan to ask.
No, Ricky, it wasn't an unreasonable question because it was everywhere. I mean, we talked about it. Other places were talking about it. So it's not an unreasonable question in the least bit. You know, like you said, maybe the follow-up question, because I can just think about this if it was me personally, if she would have said to me after that question, were you laughing about it? I would have had a significantly harsher response than Carrington did. I would have said, are you fucking kidding me? I just told you I didn't even realize I did it. But I don't think I thought Carrington handled the first question absolutely fine. And like I said, she handled the follow-up question way better than I would have. But I can't help to think, Ricky, I ask this question a lot. Turn this around. I always like to say, what do you think would happen? So let's just say that Caitlin poked Carrington in the eye. And then Brennan asked Caitlin about it. You think the WNBA Players Association would come out with the same response about, first of all, how the hell is that question pushing towards homophobia and misogynistic? They're making shit up and using buzzwords, Ricky. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, where's the homophobia? Is Djonai Carrington, is she gay?
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. I don't know either, and I don't care. I mean, this is the thing. If nobody cares as much about the sexual orientation of WNBA players as the WNBA seems to think. And I know that they've caught some shit. And again, Ron, it's like this 5% or whatever of assholes on social media. And now it's like they think it's everybody. Believe me, I couldn't care less who anybody in the WNBA is sleeping with or who they love or what they do. To the extent that I give a shit, it is about whatever transpires on the court and what those storylines are. So I agree with you. To inject race and inject the idea of homophobia, etc., into a question about a basketball play that occurred on the court is a real fucking stretch, and that's an excellent point you make.
Yeah, I don't think the racism one is even close to as big as a stretch as the homophobic one. I don't think it's right, but at least you can see it was a black player and a white player, and they've been talking about this all year. Oh, but again, this bullshit PR team for the WNBA Players Association, they're looking at their buzzwords, man, and they're like, put this in there. This'll work. And again, fatigue is going to set in, man. It's just going to set in. And at some point, the people that haven't had enough of it, they're going to it's going to happen, and they're going to have had enough of it.
Well, they've got a commissioner who I think is trying to focus on the on-court product. But the Players Association is the Players Association is different, and it's like they always come in with their 2 cents, and their 2 cents worth always seems to be kind of hyper political. And that seems to be the direction that they're coming from, and they focus on these things more than the game itself. But again, look, I mean, I've said I don't think that she did that on purpose, but if I'm Carrington, I think maybe I appreciate having the forum to say, hell no, I didn't do it on purpose. That's ridiculous. Why would I do that? I mean, Christine Brennan is giving her an opportunity to emphatically tell her side of the story to the public. And as you said, her answer was pretty good, I thought. So in a way, isn't Christine Brennan just giving her the floor to answer the question in a way that cast herself in a good light?
Well, Ricky, we actually used that clip last week to show that we were correct, that it wasn't on purpose. So we used it in support of our own opinion that it wasn't on purpose. So yeah, Christine Brennan did her a great service by letting there be tape out there of her saying, I didn't do it.
I would agree with that. And that's it. You ask the question, and then the player answers it as she sees fit. Thought she gave a reasonable answer, but now we're going to come out and the story is going to continue on because Christine Brennan is a terrible person now, and oh my God, how dare you ask a question in this country?
I'm surprised. Well, I'm actually surprised that the WNBA Players Association didn't add body shaming into their laundry list of egregious things that this was going to cause. I mean, they could just.
Well, Ronnie, it does seem like there's just sort of this sack of grievances, and whenever something happens, we just open up the entire bag of grievances and air them all. It's like Festivus every day with the WNBA players. We got a problem with everything, and you're going to hear about every bit of it. It's sort of their MO, I think. All right, Ronnie. So the poll of the day, America's poll of the day. We got some new production values on this program today, Ron, and I don't know if you have seen this yet or not, but it's the time in the show where we call it America's poll. I post it every day over on Super 70 Sports on X. So at this moment, Ron, here's a historic time for us in the history of this program. Let's Let's now take a look at America's poll. Well, I have never felt more patriotic in my life than I feel right now, Ron. Did you hear that proud eagle soaring by, just croaking out the sweet sound of freedom?
That was pretty slick.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And this is obviously a very important American institution here, this poll. So we treat it with great reverence. Ronnie, here are your choices today. We have Pearl Jam, billiards, lazy rivers, and Drew Brees. So you have a popular alternative grunge band. You have a great parlor game, I guess. I don't know what we call billiards exactly. Lazy rivers are always fun, particularly if you have an alcoholic beverage. And Drew Brees, one of the finer quarterbacks in the history of the NFL. Break it down for us, Ronnie. Who gets your vote, and handicap it like a horse race for me.
All right. So this one doesn't have anybody or anything that I dislike. So that's good. I do think that billiards, while I think the idea of billiards is actually better than billiards, because it feels like anytime I want to play, I start to play and then I play a game and I'm like, okay, I'm done. I know a lot of people that get pool tables and then they hardly ever use them. So I think the idea of billiards is better than actually billiards. Drew Brees, great quarterback, great guy. No question about that. Pearl Jam, I do love grunge music. Lazy Rivers, that's what I picked because a lazy river is just, it's fun. It's relaxing. Gives you a chance to be out in nature without doing a whole hell of a lot of work. So I'm going lazy rivers, but I believe that Jeremy will have spoken by the end of this poll.
All right. Well, with that said, let's turn it over to producer Tim and let him make his choice, which will reveal not only something about producer Tim, but it will reveal America's preference. And look at that. There's no fucking way Eddie Vedder's better than a lazy river. Really? Producer Tim. Yeah, Jeremy, he seemed like a harmless little fuck, Ron.
Well, he clearly has spoken, hasn't he?
That was the scouting report on Jeremy. I don't know. I understand 43.4% of the words that come out of Eddie Vedder's mouth. I still don't know. You know that one? You know what I mean? Like, I got like what the fuck is he talking about? I still don't know. I mean, it's a good song, but I don't understand 10% of the lyrics.
Yeah, man, he's the Bob Dylan of Seattle.
Yeah, well, you're telling me Pearl Jam's 3 times as good as Drew fucking Brees? I got a problem with this poll. Pearl Jam's overrated, dude. I'm just going to make my own audience hate me here. Pearl Jam, they're okay.
Who constructed this
poll? They're all right. I did.
All right.
And Pearl Jam's better than pool? There's nothing better than just shooting pool for a while. Really? Pearl Jam's almost 3 times better than shooting pool? Lazy rivers are unbelievable. All right. You can't float. I don't know. I mean, I guess Eddie Vedder used to crowd surf around, which is vaguely like a lazy river. I don't fucking know. Pearl Jam's overrated for me, Ron. But you know what's not overrated? Free speech, buddy. Oh. Free speech. John Kerry is today's person who has offended my delicate sensibilities with some comments that he made at a World Economic Forum panel on green goddamn energy, Ron. He's talking about the climate and our precious natural resources and all of that good shit when he made some off the cuff, it seems, remarks about that goddamn pesky First Amendment. Let's take a look.
If people go to only one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to the ability to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. So what we need is to win the ground, win the right to govern by hopefully having, winning enough votes that you're free to be able to implement change.
Well, Ron, you can't just hammer things out of existence because of the goddamn First Amendment. Isn't that awfully inconsiderate of the founding fathers, Ronnie?
Yeah, that dude's despicable in so many ways, and he just proved it. Like, I've thought he was despicable.
I voted for that. I voted for that motherfucker. I'd like to publicly apologize to George W. Bush for the fact that I voted for that guy. That is, to me, they're saying the quiet part out loud. That's the thing that gets me. Walls, as we've quoted on this show multiple times, Harris, Kerry, they're just saying this stuff right out loud. Like, all you got to do is listen. They're making their intentions clear. You can't make it any more clear than that. They want to curtail free speech because free speech is getting in the way of implementing the things that they want to implement.
It just comes down to, man, it doesn't matter. They can say everything that they're going to do, the quiet parts out loud, and it just doesn't matter because Orange Man bad. Like, that's where we're at right now. It just, they can tell you exactly the bullshit they're about to pull, and it doesn't matter because Orange Man bad.
It absolutely, look, I don't want to be a broken record here, but it just absolutely kills me that more people aren't upset about this. People that are just sitting around listening to folks say exactly what they want to do. We want to take away your constitutionally protected right to express yourself as you wish without being censored. And people don't seem to give a fuck, Ron. What does it take for people to wake up and care about this? Sometimes I wonder if sometimes I wonder, like, is it me? Am I the crazy one? Am I the crazy one for caring so much about this? Because you look around and you're like, hey, who's with me? And it's just this fucking apathetic culture that we have of people. I really believe, Ron, that the vast majority of people just don't understand the importance of what is going on. Because the average citizen has so little understanding of how the government works. They have so little understanding of the rights that they have under the Constitution. And we have just created a society of people who are just scrolling on their phones, watching TV programs, and they have been self-medicated with pop cultural bullshit. And look, I enjoy my pop culture junk food as much as anybody, but if all that's on your plate is just junk food, you are dangerously susceptible to being manipulated. And I think that is the best explanation I have for what's going on.
Well, the other thing is I don't think people really realize what the absolute worst version of all this is, because it is a slow process. I mean, it's not going to be instant deceleration, right? Like it's not like when, Iran went from being a relatively normal society to when Ayatollah Khomeini took over, and instantly women had to start wearing burqas, and it was instant deceleration over there. I had 60 Minutes came on my TV last night because it came on after the football game, and so they were talking to this guy from he was a Russian prisoner. He's from Russia. I can't remember his name, and they asked him a question about what it's like over there in terms of, speaking your mind. And he said, do you understand that in Russia that you can't even say things in the privacy of your own home that are against the government? Because if for some reason your child were to draw a picture at school that might depict some of the things that you were saying, you would get a visit from the police. And so I just don't think anybody here believes that we'll ever get to that point. They just think it's just a little bit. It's not a big deal. It won't affect my everyday life. And so they're not looking at the big picture of where it eventually could be, because there won't be instant deceleration on this. And they have their own issues and their own problems that they have to deal with every day, and they're not looking at the big picture. And I mean, part of me, I don't want to say I can't blame them, but I can understand why. We got our own problems, man. And so if I'm not allowed to say something, oh, whatever, it really doesn't hurt me. They're not looking at the big picture.
Yeah, they're not looking at the big picture at all. Let's take a look at what I'm tweeting. I tweet sometimes, and check out these production values, Ronnie.
All right.
What am I tweeting? I don't even know.
Ooh.
Well, look at that. Look at that. All right, Ron, I'm tweeting about great dugout jackets. You remember these sweet bastards, Ron? The satin dugout jackets. I don't think that one is made by Starter, but by the time that I was in high school, Ron, the satin starter jacket was just an absolute baller move. The NFL jackets, the MLB jackets, I think they even had NBA and NHL. They were fucking spectacular.
Yeah, man, it was such a big thing that I remember when we were in high school, we would all have custom ones made with our high school. So, my high school colors were green and gold, kind of like Packers colors. So we would get the name, Westland High School on the back of them. And then other schools would have their schools. And like that whole satin jacket was a big deal back then. Why weren't we talking about the absolute ridiculous height of that hat that guy's wearing? Like, look at that.
That is 10-gallon. He's wearing a 10-gallon hat there. That is Dick Williams. Ron, educate you a little bit. He won a couple of World Series with the Oakland A's in the 1970s. He took the Padres to a World Series in '84 as well. But look how he was way younger here than 78, by the way. Well, I think he was in his 50s there. And again, guys age so much older back then. As I said, I'm assuming it's because he subsisted almost entirely on bourbon and cigarettes. But dudes got old fast. They weren't like you. I mean, look at you. You look youthful, and you've overcome the possibility of old face, and you still look younger than this guy, even after pounding Ozempic like Tic Tacs.
You are actually older than Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon. Like, you're older by like 2 or 3 years. Like, that's when everybody else yeah.
And
he looked
that
like
website, yeah.
grandpa. Yeah.
Yeah, they featured me. There's like the Brimley Cocoon line. It's an X account. And when I was like the same age or a day older than Wilford Brimley, they tweeted me, and
okay.
It was nice to be recognized. Yeah, it was nice to be recognized, but not nice to know that you're older than Wilford Brimley.
Hey, OutKick fans on YouTube, if you enjoyed this episode, hit the subscribe button and make your way over to OutKick.com where you can watch the full episode.